For decades, we've all heard the warnings, right? Overpopulation, scarce resources, crowded cities, a planet on the brink. It's a fear that feels so intuitive. But what if the real threat isn't too many people, but too few? It's a question that has shaped policies and our entire view of the future for generations. It seems like a simple, logical concern. But what if that entire premise is just wrong? Okay, so let's dive right in. The source material for today's explainer makes a really bold claim. Our fear of overpopulation is actually blinding us to a much more urgent threat, a world with not enough people. Now, to understand this, we need to look at a predictable journey that pretty much every nation takes. And this is the key framework to get our heads around. It's called the demographic transition model, and it basically breaks down a country's population journey into 4 very distinct stages. And this isn't just a theory, it's a pattern that's been observed again and again all across the globe. Essentially, every nation moves through these 4 stages on its path to becoming a modern country. Let's see how it works. So first up, you have the pre-industrial phase. And let's be honest, life is tough here. High infant mortality, short life expectancies, it all means that families have a ton of children just out of sheer necessity. The population stays pretty stable because that super high birth rate is balanced out by an equally high death rate. Then, bam, stage 2 hits. This is where modern medicine, sanitation, and better food arrive on the scene. And all of a sudden, the death rate just plummets. But here's the thing, culture and family norms, they take a lot longer to change. So the birth rate stays high. With way fewer deaths and just as many births, the population absolutely explodes. This is the phase that sparked all those original fears of overpopulation. Now in stage 3, society starts to adapt. People begin to realize they don't need to have 6 children for just 2 of them to survive into adulthood. As education levels and economic opportunities go up, especially for women, the birth rate starts to fall, and that population growth slows way, way down. And finally, you get to stage 4. A new kind of balance is found. Both birth rates and death rates are low. The population either stabilizes or, and this is what we're seeing all across the developed world, it actually begins to decline. And according to our source, this is where a completely new and maybe even more dangerous problem starts. Now, to really grasp this new danger, we need to shift our focus from the big societal level down to the individual. The source breaks down a human life into 3 really distinct economic phases, and understanding this is crucial for seeing how our entire economic system actually works. And this brings us to a critical idea, the dependency ratio. It sounds kind of technical, but it's a really simple idea. In any society, you have children who need to be supported, and you have seniors who need to be supported. The group in the middle, the working adults, they're the ones doing all the supporting. They are the engine of the economy, and the balance of this ratio decides everything from your pension to the quality of your healthcare. This slide basically visualizes our economic lives. From roughly age 0 to 30, we're dependent learners. From 60 onwards, we're dependent retirees. Our whole economic system, taxes, innovation, production, you name it, it all rests on that really important middle slice, the productive adults. And this is where the sources argument really comes into sharp focus. What happens when that middle, productive slice of the population starts to shrink? Well, it's not a slow decline. It's an economic implosion. So the whole thing comes down to this one number, 2.1. That's the fertility replacement rate. For a population to just remain stable, each woman needs to have, on average, 2.1 children, 1 to replace herself, 1 to replace her partner, and that little 0.1 to account for people who don't have children or children who don't survive to adulthood. And this chart just brilliantly illustrates the problem. We're not just a little below the replacement rate. In many places, we've fallen off a cliff. The source points to South Korea, which has a fertility rate below 1. Japan is not that far behind, and even parts of India are now well below that 2.1 mark. And this isn't some future projection. This is happening right now. You know, when you have fewer babies today, you get fewer workers in 30 years. It's just a mathematical certainty. And that kicks off a cascade. Fewer workers means less production of goods and services. With supply down but demand from a large aging population still high, prices soar. And this leads to the most dangerous part, the failure of our financial systems. We're talking pension funds that can't pay out, or healthcare systems collapsing under the weight of an aging population with nobody left to fund them. I mean, think about it. Every single major infrastructure project, high-speed rail, bridges, airports, is built on loans that are paid back over decades by future taxpayers. A bank gives out a 30-year loan because it trusts that in 30 years there will be a robust economy full of workers to pay it all back. But when that future tax base disappears, who's going to lend the money? The whole system of long-term investment just grinds to a halt. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. The most common response to all of this is, don't worry, automation and robots will save us. But the source argues that this is just a fundamental misunderstanding of how economics really works. The reason automation works at all is because of a principle called economy of scale. A single robot in a car factory might cost millions of dollars, but that's economical because it helps produce millions of cars for a mass market. The cost gets spread out over this massive volume. And this creates a perfect catch-22. Automation is only cheap if you have a massive market to sell to. But a collapsing population is, by definition, a collapsing market of consumers. Who's going to buy all the products? Without that mass demand, there's no economy of scale. The robots become too expensive to run, and the whole argument just falls apart. But the source argues the real tragedy here isn't just economic, it's philosophical. For all of human history, our story has been one of facing challenges head-on. Not enough food, we invent the Green Revolution. The source says we've forgotten how to do this. Instead of solving the problems that come with more people, we've adopted a mindset of simply trying to get rid of the people. And that brings us to this powerful idea from the source. We became so good, so efficient at managing and slowing population growth to create a better world. But in achieving that goal, we may have accidentally triggered a collapse that, unlike growth, is mathematically almost impossible to reverse. The data is no longer a forecast. For many nations, it's a reality. The children who will become the workers of 2050 have already not been born. And this leaves us with the ultimate question. What does a world built for growth do when it starts to run out of its most essential resource? People.